Hello and welcome to Liberty and Gun Rights Podcast. My name is James Moffitt, and I will be your host. So if you think gear is just gear, you're missing the whole point. Today I'm talking with Reuben Booker, the mind behind GearSwitcher.com, and this guy's changing the way everyday Americans think about preparedness, training, and personal freedom. We're breaking down the tools that actually matter, the mindset behind the responsible gun ownership, and why self-reliance is becoming non-negotiable in today's world. If you care about liberty, protection, and the gear that keeps you ready, this is the episode you don't want to skip. Let's get into it. Reuben, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, do me a favor and introduce yourself to the listening audience.
Okay, my name is Reuben Booker. I built Gear Switcher starting last year about this time with my brother. It really was born out of having bought multiple things over the internet, whether it be on the various platforms, TaxSwap, Gun Broker. There's a litany of them, gear accessories for sale, and kind of walking away being frustrated with the overall experience. So my brother and I, we built something completely peer-to-peer that kind of address some of the concerns that we saw and the kind of the areas that we saw lacking in the ability for customers to, or I won't say customers, but individuals to sell their guns and equipment peer to peer without having an outdated experience, I would say.
I'm trying to look it up on another web browser. Is it gearswitchr.com?
Yes, gearswitchr.com.
I'm missing the I. I want to show it to the people who are going to watch the YouTube video. Yeah, so let me show the listening audience.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate it.
Window, gear switcher, share. There we go.
That's it.
List, connect, sell. No final value fees, no silly credits, just clean listings. Join users who are tired of TaxSwap and Gun Broker. I can't tell you how many guns I've bought off of Gun Broker. And they're over the years, last 20 or 30 years, and their interface was like something from the 1970s.
I'm glad you said it, so it doesn't sound like I'm being, some punchy upstart trying to take on the 800-pound gorilla.
Right.
But it's an auction house, right? And they have paved a way. They have brought a lot of features to a lot of FFLs doing business. But for the reasons that you kind of outlined, it's a little behind the times. They have massive volume, and me and my brother respect that. I have bought things off of Gun Broker myself. They've done a good job. However, from my perspective, they kind of eat at the FFL's profit margin quite a bit, and I don't think that's necessarily right. These are not every FFL is a brick and mortar store. Some guys are just operating out of their, garage. It's a little hustle that they do as a side hustle. And, taking 5 to 8% on your profit margin for every transaction, and getting, you get a platform in return, and it's an auction house. So I think there's a better way. And so for Gear Switcher, we don't charge anything. We charge $0 for FFLs and individual users to list and sell their gear. We take no profit. We are not an escrow. Gun Broker is involved in the payment process, and as of this year, they will be involved in kind of controlling how the transfers go. They will be very much part of that with their new company or a sister company, third-party company, and of course, it's going to cost some money. It's really cutting into the FFL's bottom line, and I don't really think that's the best way we can do business. It's 2026. We can do better. And I hope that Gear Switcher can attract those FFLs that are looking to maintain their profit. I mean, they went out, they got the FFL from the ATF. They've done the paperwork. They're running a business for whatever reasons they have. And we should support that as fellow Americans.
Right. So you've already kind of covered what's the story behind Gear Switcher and why you started it.
Mm-hmm.
What gap did you see in the firearms and preparedness space that made you say, I need to build this?
From my own experience, I would say probably the most is that we live in the single greatest moment of technology. The notion that you have to go through some gatekeeper as far as getting prepared and learning about preparedness has pretty much been eroded. And part of that erosion, I think, needed to spill over into the marketplace. And that's kind of why I wanted to build it. Like, we don't have to just rely on these monolithic organizations such as Gear or Gun Broker, Arms List, and some of the others. There's a better way to do it. And that's what kind of drove me to build it,
All right. So I know you got the website. Is there going to be a app that people can use on their smartphones, like Android and Apple iPhones?
So the beauty of Gear Switcher is it can be installed on your phone right now as an app. We don't want to go through Android Play Store or the Apple App Store because their approval process is long, slow, and like a lot of big tech, I'm sure you're aware of, is not very friendly to the 2A community. But you can install and save the Gear Switcher webpage as an app, and we have a blog article in our blog that it kind of explains and how to walks you through the process if you
Okay,
open it up. Yep.
that makes sense.
Mhm.
I think most people that have smartphones that are technology savvy, social media savvy, they're gonna know how to do that, I would
And
imagine.
if they don't, we've got the resources there to help you out and figure it out. And what's kind of cool about doing it that way is you don't need another app on your phone. It integrates just like any other app, so you will get notifications right there on the screen, just like as if you had actually installed an app without having to install an app from the Play Store or the Apple App Store.
So, switching to gear, training, and mindset,
Mhm.
you always emphasize mindset over gear. What does that mean in real world terms?
So I was in the military. My brother was in law enforcement. He worked for the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. I served in the 82nd Airborne. The mindset cannot be replaced. Whatever you're going to go back to is your training, what they call it basic training for a reason, because those are the fundamentals. When we have to be a master of the fundamentals, and the rest of the training becomes an improvisation or something like jazz. So going back to the fundamentals, it really tied into what we built. The fundamentals of a marketplace is that two parties come together privately, make a sale, and then they part privately, and they can leave reviews. We have that built into the website, but that's kind of been my touchstone, is that mindset is built around the being excellent at the fundamentals of whatever you're doing. And that obviously is very true with firearms training, with preparedness training. You can't expect to be rappelling from a helicopter in the mountains if you don't know how to tie any knots. It's just not going to happen very
Right.
well for you.
So, what branch were you in?
I was in the Army. So
Okay. Well, thank you for your service. My
that
dad
was,
was a drill instructor in the Army for 26 years.
wow.
He went to Korea and Vietnam.
I,
I think some other place, some other conflict.
there's not been a shortage of them for in the past 50
No,
years.
no, there haven't. What are the biggest mistakes people make when choosing gear or firearms, in
Biggest
your
mistakes.
opinion?
Keeping up with the Joneses. I think that is probably the biggest mistake. And the Joneses, whether it be social media, YouTube, the Joneses literally next door, they have some awesome equipment and some awesome gear, and the photos look great. And, see the videos of them out on the range using and training it. But that will not make up for the thing that we just talked about, the mindset and being great at the fundamentals. And I think that's where a lot of people make the mistake. Do you need a $2,000 AR-15? No, you do not. The $600, $500 Palmetto State AR-15 will probably do just as good at your skill level when you're just getting started. When you get
Right.
proficient,
That's the key.
mhm,
It's a great price point at your skill level.
absolutely.
And let's say this: not everybody's an operator, right? If
Yes.
anybody's on the internet saying they're an operator, they're lying, because I don't even know any of them, but I've heard that most operators, right, they're not on the internet and they're not talking about it. They're
Mhm,
busy
doing their
making
job.
money and protecting high quality or high dollar targets, or high dollar assets, rather. You don't want them to be a target. You're keeping them from being a target.
Absolutely.
So, if you're going to Palmetto State Armory to buy your handguns and your ammo and your
Mhm.
long guns and your leather products and all of that, you're probably not a quote unquote operator. You're just a
You're just getting
regular,
started.
everyday citizen. And now, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of Second Amendment folks out there that are veterans,
Mhm,
that
mhm,
have served in the armed forces, have weapons training, that have, all kinds of different training in the armed forces, and their MOA, or whatever they call it. What is it?
mhm. MOS.
Their
MOS.
what does that stand for?
Military Occupational Specialty. And if you had asked me that any other day, I would never remember that.
No, that's fine. I knew what I wanted to talk about. I just didn't. I had the M and the O. I
You
just
had
didn't
it.
have the S down. Everybody that's in the armed forces has an MOS, and they get trained. And
Mhm.
as I understand it, recruiters promise you the world, right? And once you get into one of the branches, all of a sudden you're on. you're on kitchen duty or cleaning latrines or
You got it. You got
or doing stuff that you didn't sign up for. But you got to start at the bottom, right? You got to start at the
Yeah,
bottom. Got to work your
absolutely.
way up in the ranks. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of energy, a lot of passion for the United States of America. You have to be loyal, all of those things. Everything
Absolutely.
that makes a veteran, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't count the number of highly specialized infantrymen I saw cutting the grass on Fort Bragg.
Yeah, it takes it takes a village. Somebody's got to cut the grass, right?
Someone's got to
And
cut the grass.
you're not going to see a lieutenant colonel cutting the grass, right?
No,
No,
but he's
general,
going to
no.
expect the grass to be cut. Him and
That's
Sergeant
right.
here.
And so he gets to do that, the private, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So I just want to give a shout out to all the veterans out there. Your service is appreciated. I know a lot of veterans, especially in the Vietnam era, that came home and they were shunned, ridiculed, embarrassed. It was, just a sad thing. And I don't think that in the last 20 years that our veterans have experienced anything like that. Thank goodness.
Yeah,
But anyway, I really
absolutely.
appreciate the sacrifice that our veterans have made and are still making.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. On behalf of all the veterans, I'll say thank you on that one.
Absolutely. What are the biggest mistakes? You already answered that one.
Mhm.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
So you're saying we don't need a SIG P 227 or 229 double stack 45 or the latest and greatest $3,000 long gun, right?
You can
There's a
probably
difference
get
between need and want.
exactly. You probably will be safe with a Glock or some Glock-shaped object that goes bang every time you press the trigger.
Glock is a solid firearm.
Absolutely.
Glock has been around a long time.
Yeah.
And you can throw that thing in a mud puddle, run it over with your truck, and pick it up and still shoot with it.
Yeah.
Those things are built to take a punishment.
The thing if I had to make a recommendation to any of those looking for their first firearm, start with reliability. Because if it doesn't work reliably, you're going to have a real big problem when the time comes if you ever should need it. So, and that's what Glock has built its reputation on. And I hope I can do the same with Gear Switchers, build a reputation on being reliable to both users and FFL.
There's a lot of gun stores. PSA is one of them. But you can go to these local gun stores and you can actually rent a firearm for $5, $10, $15 for an hour, use their ammo, and go shoot it. See if you can manage it. See if the grip is right. See if you're strong enough in your forearm and your wrist and grip. Whether you're a male shooter, female shooter, if you're an elderly shooter. When you're in your 20s and 30s and maybe 40s, you can pretty much pick up anything and shoot it, unless you're disabled or you have some sort of physical ailment, right, that would keep you from doing that. But I always tell people to go to your local gun range or gun store, rent several, rent a 22, rent a 38, rent a 9mm, rent a 45, a 40, a 10, whatever, and find out what you're comfortable with. And that's, you don't want your husband or your boyfriend buying you a firearm for Christmas and go, okay, well, here's your first gun, go shoot it.
I'm going to be honest. A couple Christmases ago, I did buy my wife a gun.
Can she shoot it well?
She was in the military as well, so she got some training as well, and so she knows how to shoot it. Now, getting her out to the range to shoot is another story, another topic for another time.
Well, your situation was kind of an exception to the rule in that she had military training. It's not the first gun she's ever picked up, right? And so you kind of had an idea as to what was a good purchase for her. And even if it wasn't, even if she went out to the range and shot it and went, I'm not really that happy with it, I want to get something else, something that suits me, right? That's the nice thing about being able to go to the gun store with your receipt and go, this is not going to work for me. I need to get something a little more manageable or whatever,
Yeah,
And a lot of it depends on how are you going to carry. You're going to open carry, you're going to concealed carry. Female shooters have more things to consider with regards to their wardrobe and how they dress and the bags they carry or not carry, and
for sure,
all sorts of things that us guys don't really have to worry about. And so that's something else that they have to take into consideration.
Absolutely.
How do you help people separate marketing hype from what actually works?
I would say marketing hype is probably my favorite part of what we've built. It has been the hardest part. And I really have to give thanks to you, James, because you were the first podcast I've ever been on, number one, and the first podcast I emailed to see if I could even appear on one as an opportunity to kind of market Gear Switcher. How do you, but to answer your question, how do you discern between what is hype and what is real? Is I want to say in the Army, we called it the give a darn factor, but it's probably a little like that's the watered down version.
Right. They
But
use stronger language,
yeah,
probably.
lots of stronger language in the four letter category. But that is kind of what my brother and I built it on, is like, we care about this thing. We understand the frustrations from not only a FFL perspective, because we did spend time interviewing and talking to FFLs that are very, very well run, we'll put here in Fort Myers, and just the overall experience of the online purchase. And so I care about the sale and transfer of firearms quite passionately, and I think it should be seamless. I think it should be free, and as far as the opportunity to list and sell items, and I think that's what kind of should stand out when you're looking at a company. Do they care about it? Do they care about it enough to recognize that, like, hey, this thing is broken and we need to fix it, or this path that we're on is not supporting the customer or the end user. We need to change it. If you're interacting with a company that doesn't seem to care about you outside of firearms, inside of firearms, whatever, and they're not responsive to legitimate criticism, then I would say that you need to look elsewhere. And I would encourage you to do so. And if you can't find what you're looking for, don't be afraid to start. Don't be afraid to do it yourself. That's what America is built on. And so that's what I would encourage people that are trying to discern marketing from hype.
Gotcha. Well, in the AI age that we live in,
Mhm.
every company and vendor and creditor that I know hides behind two things. One is auto attendant. And what's an auto attendant? Auto
Mhm.
attendant is that phone that picks up. It's actually a voice over IP switch,
Mhm.
right? That picks up, and they configure an auto attendant which has several buckets that
Yeah,
they put
preloaded buckets. Yep.
recordings in, right? And so this auto attendant switches you around, says for sales, hit 1, for
Mhm.
technical support, hit 2, whatever it is. Whatever the options are, you're faced with that. Well, now with AI, everybody's jumping on board, and so now they're putting a layer of AI on top of all of that,
Mhm.
right? So try to call your electric company
Yep.
at
Please
four
no.
o'clock in the afternoon and get a human, because you've got a problem that, guess what? The auto attendant does not cover. The options that you're given on that auto attendant, I would bet 65-70% of the time, has nothing to do with the issue that you're dealing with. And what do you want? You want a human being to pick up the freaking telephone and help you with your problem, right? And
Absolutely.
so now not only do we have to deal with the auto attendant, we're talking to this robot, or to this artificial intelligence that's been programmed with LLMs to ask you specific questions, looking for specific answers. And if you don't give it the specific answer it's looking for, guess what? You're going to be in a round robin with that thing for 20 or 30 minutes. And like in the case of Dell, I call Dell for technical support all the time. If I don't give it to the express service code, which is a number that long,
Mhm.
it hangs up on you. It says, since you can't provide what I'm asking for, you have a nice day and call back later when you have that information. I can't tell you how that just drives me crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, what sets companies apart? Customer support, right?
Yes. Yeah, for
If
sure.
people cannot get to a human, and I'm not saying that you have to have a phone bank with 400 people answering phone calls all
Mhm.
day, because who can afford that? And you're a startup company and all that, but at some point there needs to be an option to where you can send an email to a specific support at gearswitcher.com or whatever, and
That exists.
have a human in a relatively short amount of time respond to that email and go, okay, I see what your problem is. I think I understand what it is, and here's our solution. And at that point, you can point people to frequently asked questions on your website. You can send them, you can have them download a PDF file with the information that they need, or at very at least have some kind of 1-800 number. If all your automated stuff doesn't fix the problem, have a 1-800 number that somebody can call during business hours and get a hold of a person, a live person, or leave a message so that a real human can call them back.
Yes, absolutely. And that's something that my brother and I really zeroed in on just in building gear switchers that, go talk to human beings. Don't try to build this in a vacuum. And there's some pushback. Some people don't like to hear that you're building something new. They like the old way. They don't like to hear that you might be stealing a little bit of their what they've got going on, and that's fine. Competition in the marketplace is again what makes us Americans, and it's a blessing, not a curse. But, one of the paid tiers that we do offer includes Zoom calls. Like if you have an issue, turn the camera on, put the microphone in front of us, and we will work through it. We're not backed by any investor money. It's my Apple credit card that's funding this operation right now. And so we're all in on our customers because they are our greatest resource and they are what make Gear Switcher work. So if ever someone who is listening now or listens later and has an issue with Gear Switcher, they're like, this thing that I'm seeing, it doesn't work the way it should work. We encourage it. Like criticism is not always negative. And I think we live in an age where people think that criticism is not beneficial. But no, when you're building something and it's just you and your brother, you need as much feedback as you can get so you can rapidly deploy that. Because, one person has a problem, they tell 3 of their friends. Now you got a lot of problems. So we're definitely firm believers on, I want to talk to someone. I want to talk to someone who speaks English.
Right, exactly. So Gear Switcher has built and is building a loyal following fast. What do you think resonates most with your audience?
Depending on the audience, there's the FFL audience and then there's the user audience as well. I think for the FFLs, it's going to be the opportunity to get something that they've never seen before in the paid tiers. And they don't have to be in the paid tiers if they don't want it. But in our paid tiers, we are going to, in the summer of 2026, be able to provide them with business intelligence. Right now, most FFLs are working off of sales data, which is great, but that's a rear view looking, right? Like you can see what's selling, but most FFLs do not have the market research to be able to tell you what is going on in their individual zip code. What are people searching for? What are they interested in buying? What do I stock on the shelves when Joe Schmo walks in the store? If he's been looking online for Remington 870s and all I have is Mossberg 500s, well, that's a missed opportunity. And the FFL owner should know that prior to Joe Schmo ever walking in the door. But this business intelligence does not exist in the firearms industry, a $20 billion industry with over 73,000 FFLs. And this is well documented actually by RAND in their research that there's no intelligence for the firearms industry around private purchases.
I got you. How do you maintain transparency and trust in a space where people are often skeptical?
This is tough, right? Because the community, one bad apple can ruin the entire community. We built a trust system in, so we do not handle any payments. We don't collect any fees. You're not going to go to a Stripe checkout and pay for the gun that you bought from your local FFL or the FFL that's shipping to you. That is totally done between the individual and the FFL. But what we do require is feedback on all transfers and purchases. So if you purchase something and you pay for it, then there will be a feedback system, much like eBay has used over the decades. So that is how we enforce transparency and feedback, and that information is available and viewable by all users. So it's not hidden. If you have an account, you can check out the feedback that seller or buyer has prior to you even making a purchase or a sale.
Right. All right. So for the listening audience, do me a favor and very clearly and succinctly tell the listening audience what Gear Switcher is offering. What are you providing for them?
We are providing a platform for them to list and sell both guns, firearms, accessories, optics for nothing, for free. You can use the platform today, right now. You can create a listing in probably under 30 seconds, depending on how long you make your password, and set up an account and start listing, anything you want related to the categories that we have on our website.
Sure.
And so that's what we're
so
providing.
these could be new firearms or personally owned firearms?
Yes. Pre-owned, brand new. We do have some FFLs that have already signed up and they are listing some of their inventory. And one of the things that we're working towards and is part of the paid tier, there is an import function for fast-bound users. That's a payment system, a POS. They can export their entire inventory and they will be able to import it into gearswitcher.com and it will all be live on the website, just like they currently do, I think, with Gunbroker and maybe Arms List as well. But as long as they can export it as a CSV, a common separated value sheet, or an XLS document, they can upload it onto Gear Switcher and be live, ready to go at no cost to them. Or excuse me,
I got you.
I shouldn't say no cost to them. There is a cost for those import functions.
Got you. All right. So you have a free tier, and
Yes, sir.
what does that give them?
The free tier is to all FFLs and users. You can list right now. It's
So you can sign up for an account, give them your email address, and you can scroll what's available.
Yep, and sell and list and sell.
And you can create a listing. So what's the next tier up that you have to pay for?
So we're building an intelligence platform that will help tell FFLs, the people in their area, what they're searching for, what they want, what calibers are trending down to their zip code. We call it FFL intelligence.
Okay.
It is part of it is included at the free tier, but you'll get like basic stats, how many people viewed your listings, how many transfer requests you got. So one of the good things, even just going on as an FFL and claiming your profile, because we did import all FFLs, all 73,000 FFLs. So if you're an FFL listening, you can claim it. You can claim your FFL. We'll verify. You have to submit, the actual document. We'll verify it. And then you can set up your store. You're not going to get not all the intelligence that we're going to be offering at the free tier, but the next tier, the paid tier, starts at $49 a month. The amount of money that you will save by not paying Gunbroker fees, you can pay for Gear Switcher intelligence and get more out of it. No one is providing this data that we'll be able to provide from the users of Gear Switcher, not even Gunbroker.
Okay, so the 73,000 FFLs you're speaking of, is that in Florida only, or is that United States wide?
Yeah.
It's national.
National. Every state.
73,000. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is quite a few. The 54,000, are active, and not all of them are. Some businesses have multiple FFLs where they are SOTs where they're manufacturing things, and not all of them are retail businesses. They could be manufacturers of suppressors or relics and curios. They have to have a license as well.
All right. So what's the one message you want listeners to walk away with today?
The one message I want listeners to walk away with.
You got 5 minutes for an elevator speech.
I think my main message would be, if you're listening and you buy, sell, or trade firearms or gear, vests, LBEs, all that stuff that you see on the internet and on the radio, go to gearswitcher.com. On March 1st, today, March 1st is our official launch date. It's free. It takes 30 seconds. You can list the item immediately and just give it a shot. The worst that could happen is you walk away and be like, Reuben and his brother have no idea what they're doing, and I'll never use that website again. That's fine. If you're an FFL owner, go claim your profile. It's already there. We've already built it. We have your address. We have your business, name. Like, we're waiting for you to sign up and you can start selling. It's not going to be 30 seconds, unfortunately. It's going to take you a little longer.
Sure.
And my last pitch would be, find us on social media. On Twitter at gearswitcher.com, on Instagram, Gear Switcher, or just one word, Gear Switcher. I mean, we're trying to build a community because that's like the foundation of what Gear Switcher is. It's a community of individuals who are interested in buying and selling gear and firearms without the hassle of silly credits that don't make any sense or high fees that impede business goals. So that would be my call to action. My ask, my elevator pitch would be, go sign up, make an account. And if you don't like it, tell us. We read every email, every message. We work on it nonstop. We have jobs full time, but this is our and we want to make it as best as we can, and we want to make it better than what's currently available. And I think we can do that. But we gotta hear that our baby's ugly sometimes, and I'm not afraid to hear that the baby is ugly.
Well, Reuben, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
To the listening audience, I want to say thank you for the privilege of your time. That wraps up today's conversation with Reuben Booker from gearswitcher.com. Reuben reminded us that liberty isn't just a belief, it's a responsibility. It's the mindset you carry, the training you invest in, and the gear you choose with intention, not impulse. Whether you're new to firearms or deep into preparedness, his message is simple: stay informed, stay trained, and stay ready. If this episode gave you something to think about, share it with someone who cares about protecting what matters. And make sure to check out Gear Switcher, that's Gear, SWITCHR.com, for tools and insights that actually make a difference. Thanks for listening to the Liberty and Gun Rights podcast. Stay sharp, stay prepared, and keep standing for freedom.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Reuben.
Thank you, James.